The 14th Emir of Kano and leader of the Tijaniya movement in Africa, Muhammadu Sanusi, has met with the leaders of the military junta in Niger Republic. Now, the surprise meeting comes after the military junta had aborted a meeting with representatives of the African Union, the Economic Community of West African States, and a top U.S. diplomat. Last week, a delegation of ECOWAS who stormed the presidential palace in Niamey and met with both the coup leaders. Ousted President Mohamed Bazoum, immediate former president, could not broker peace as the military junta failed to grant audience to the delegation. However, Sanusi, whose Tijaniya sect has a large following in Nigeria, met with the military leadership. Their meeting comes 24 hours after the ECOWAS, led by President Bola Tinubu, imposed more sanctions on the military rulers. Well, for more on this, I'm joined live in the studio by Ibrahim Zain Konji, a Chadian social-political activist, and very much apprised of what's happening on the ground in the Niger Republic. Good to see you, and thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start off by looking at the first cause, which many Africans would like to understand, especially in other countries where military have taken over. Now, what's the immediate cause? What do you think is the immediate cause of this military takeover? Because now we see that some citizens seem to be rejoicing over the takeover.
Great. Regarding that coup of 26th of last month, actually there were two episodes.
Two episodes?
Yes, please, on that coup. The earlier one, a coup was led by former chief of presidential guard, Abdurrahman Omar Chayani. He started 5 o'clock or 5 a.m. Took the president hostage and then asked him to resign in order for him to take over. Actually, he did not have any valid reason by then. It was just personal misunderstanding. The man is about to go, and he wanted to retire him in form of retaliation. So around 11 in the morning...
Let me get this. It was time for Abdurrahman Chiani to leave the army, to retire.
Yes, please. So he attempted the coup by 5 a.m. So around 11, military came in, and the Garde Nationale, what they call it, National Guard, also another paramilitary unit, a very strong force, actually, it's a parallel to the military. So they came and surrounded the presidency. And they asked Abdurrahman Omar Chayani to release the president, or we are going to attack. Because his own men already closed the doors and the windows or roads to the presidency. So from there, things got normal around 11. Later in the afternoon, communication within the military senior officers took place. Finally, they agreed on to continue with the coup. There were so many differences and misunderstanding between some of the military junta and Abdurrahman Omar Chayani earlier before 26th of the last month. So they had an agreement, it was consensus. Around 11 in the night, they released the coup bulletin from the national TV. Actually, by then they all came together, they made their concessions, and they gave a name, National Council for Protection of Our Homeland. So all the military units, they came and accepted and supported the military coup. So for a couple of days, they refused to announce because negotiation was going on between the different factions. And those people who had misunderstanding, a person like now the Deputy Military Council, the second person, General Salif Modi, former Chief of the Army, a man well respected within the Niger community, within Niger Army. So there was a little misunderstanding between him and President Bazoum. Bazoum retired that man and sent him an ambassador to Dubai. It was barely in a form of exile. So happened to be he was there in Niamey. So they all accepted Abdurrahman Omar Chayani to be the leader of the military council. Salif Modi, General Salif Modi, former chief of the army, as a deputy. The serving chief of the army, equally, he supported the coup and stood with them, and he did not even request for any post apart from the membership. Last week, they appointed 8 governors, and Niger has 8 states. So 8 military governors have appointed them. None of them was a general. All were from middle ranks.
So looking at this, it would seem as if now you're talking about some career threat now to General Tiani, who was leaving office on one hand, and look at the other general who's been moved to Dubai. But again, let's now delve into what is happening now. ECOWAS, AU, and those other Francophone countries, 5 countries where military rule is at the moment. What do you make first of former rebel leader and politician in Niger? I think Risa Agboola, who's spoken saying he would fight on the side of ECOWAS and not in support of the coup leaders.
Well, Risa Agboola, as you rightly mentioned, he was a former rebel leader. A man was a close friend to ex-president, if I may say, Bazoum Mohammed, was appointed as Minister of State. A man was barely heading all the ministers, or all the ministers.
Risa
Agboola. So, in fact, even if the president, Bazoum, is traveling out, he assigned him to take his work till he returns back. The man from Agadez is very influential in that Agadez site. But within Niamey, so he has very little impact if Bazoum is not on seat. So that threat may not have much difference, if you ask me.
At the moment, no one has seen or heard from Bazoum lately. A few of these emissaries trying to speak to the coup leaders have not been able to speak to Bazoum, making people wonder if Bazoum is okay.
Well, Bazoum had appeared on the screen when Chadian President Mohamed Idriss Déby Itno, by the time he landed in Niamey, he met the leader of the junta, Abdurrahman Omar Chayani, and the second in command, Salif Modi, and the ex-president, former president Mohamed Issoufou, and with Bazoum as well. He met with all of them. So if we are fair enough with the military agenda, this one goes to the military junta's credit. This is the first ever a president in Francophone country have been ousted by the military coup looters, safe and sound. He's with his phone communicating with international agencies, with dignitaries, with the UN, with the American Foreign Secretary, with the African Union, freely, to the extent is tweeting. So we are very much sure at this point he's safe and sound.
National Council for the Protection of Our Homeland. That's what they call the government in place in Niger at the moment. What protection are they talking about?
Well, in Niger, before the coup, the situation, socio-economical situation in Niger was not sound. Things were actually deteriorating drastically. And so many people, let me say, generally the Niger community, the nation had so many grievances. Out of that, the insecurity, and unfortunately Niger, among the very few countries from different regions, insecurity is boiling. terrorism is hitting the nation is the southern part, Mali, Burkina Faso border, and the northeast of Nigerian border. Both are highly unstable. And there's no tangible and visible impact from the government side to settle those problems. So discontent was there to massive extent. But I tend to think the protection, what they are talking about, to free the country from the control of France. And that's what met Niger, the citizens